some roofing for well, a driver. Your name came up. Was it Kenny C? Did you do some work for roofing for?
Don't remember.
Yeah.
Don't remember.
Well, what we do remember is about you. We're doing this project on State Line Speedway, the first 10 years or so, and of course you were part of it not only right towards the 1964, 65.
Yeah.
Was that racing? Was that something that was in your family, Larry? Did your mom, did your dad get involved in that?
My dad never got in racing. They called him Barney Oldfield. He had a Winton and he had a box on the back of it, and he used to run around pretty high speed on the road, but he never really raced it.
So what was your interest? What got you interested to actually?
Oh, I started racing at Cool Road. Actually, I started with Don Albaum, had the racing up at the stadium back in 1957, something like that. And I got my cousin, my cousin Jake Foster had Sweet 16, a Chevy.
Right.
And I raced that.
Now Don Albaum, he was also a boxing promoter too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So he promoted a little bit of everything?
Yeah, he had the races up there at the stadium for 1 or 2 years, I forget which.
Was that where also when guys like Tom Dill would race there too?
Yeah.
So you went up and did your initial racing in here locally. How did you learn about State Line Speedway?
Well, it was I run at Cool Road. I had a early model 1948 Ford, and I started racing at Erie's.
Okay.
At Erie Speedway.
Okay.
Under Jerry and Frank and Lloyd Williams.
Right.
And them, and then I formed the Bay City Racing Association.
Okay.
It wasn't a legal thing, but it was a Bay City Racing Association. We struck them up there one year in 1965
Really?
Because they weren't being fair to the early model drivers. They weren't doing enough, and they were pissed off at me all the time because I had them. The guys left the races, wouldn't even race. I called them out of the race, and then they agreed to give us a better deal. A lot of things that are involved, but I don't want to go into that.
So this is this is 1965, and you decided to kind of create an association of the drivers, right?
Yeah, in 1964 it was.
64, okay.
Yeah.
And this affected both State Line and Erie's?
Yeah.
Did you at some point, how did you show your solidarity? Did you at some point take your cars out on the track and walk off?
Well, we didn't even go out of the pits.
Okay, I see. So there was a couple of episodes where you just didn't even go out.
Well, we went up there, but we wouldn't race, and then they agreed to listen to us. They wouldn't listen to us.
Did they listen
early
to you?
Mount, yeah. I talked to them till 3 o'clock in the morning up there at Erie Speedway, to Lloyd Williams and Frank and Jerry, and we got some things straightened out.
Well, now who were the guys you talked to? Was Leonard part of that also? Leonard Briggs?
Yeah.
So
Leonard and Jerry.
Okay, those were the two principal guys.
Yeah.
Were you the leading spokesperson for?
Yeah, I was the president of
Okay. Who else were your officers?
Bob Tobin, and I can't remember all that stuff now. It's been a long time.
But it's a unique part of the history.
Yeah. Then I had to. The reason I got the Wattsburg Speedway going was I called a meeting of the Bay City Racing Association down at Oddfellows Hall in Northeast, and all the late model drivers came down there, and I asked them if they wouldn't go in with me on the Wattsburg Speedway and open that Wattsburg Speedway up, have an association, but they didn't want to do it, so I did it on my own.
I see.
I went up and leased the track from Wattsburg Fair Association and started building the track in 1968. I built that track in 1968, and then I had races there. The track wasn't very good shape then because we put hauled clay in, stuff like that, but it was spongy.
Right.
and it wouldn't hold the late models. So after about half the season, I brought in the sprint cars from Oil City. I went down to Oil City
Right.
and had them come up and race sprint cars because they aren't as heavy. But then in the winter of 1968, we got a lot of open freezing and thawing, and the track solid up. So in 1969, the track was good. I remember Bobby Schnard over there used to leave black on the curves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had some good racing there until I got electrocuted in July of 1969.
Tell me about that.
I was working on a serviceable light pole up there at the Speedway, trying to shine the lights into the pit.
Right.
And there was an illegal transformer on the light pole, and coming down from the 7200 volt line, and I didn't know it was there. It was at night, and I had a ladder. I was up there 35 feet,
Right.
and I reached for my bit snap for a wrench to change the position of the light, shine it, and I hit that 7200 volt line, and it knocked me off.
Oh my God.
Off the pole and burned me. I had third-degree burns. I was burnt
Yeah.
third degree all over my body, from my waist up, third-degree burns. They didn't expect me to live.
Yeah.
The Dr. Tavaner, Kopinski and Tavaner told my sister, Flossie, she's dead now, she told her I wouldn't make it. I don't remember nothing for about 10 days.
Sure.
And they did skin graft and took all the skin off my legs and put it on my body.
Yeah.
So that's how I come out.
And that was the end of what?
Under the Speedway, I had no strength.
Right. Right.
And so I went up to the Fair Association and sold my equipment for
Right.
$2,000, all the freezers and all the stuff in the concession stand, and the water truck, and I sold the whole thing for $2,000.
My gosh. So that was sort of the end of the racing, the Larry Parmenter
Yeah.
racing.
Yeah. Had a guy by the name of Bob, I forget his last name, took it over, but he didn't run it only for a year or so, and it wasn't very successful. I had a pretty successful track there. I bought bleachers in, for 5,000 people, put them in the infield and on the straightaway, and had a real going thing. I had to give it up.
Yeah. Gosh. We're going to do something now, Larry, that I think you're going to get a kick out of. We've got a picture album of racers of 1965 from State Line. And as you look at that, if you have any thoughts when you look at these drivers and say, let me tell you about Bobby Schnars, let me tell you about Ronnie Blackburn, so go ahead and...
I bought my car from Ronnie Blackburn in 1964.
Really?
Yeah, I bought it when he got through racing up at Erie's.
Right.
I gave him $1,800 for his car. It was just a simple car. It had a roll bar in it, but there was no modification to it, nothing. It had a 327 engine in it, but that's what I started with, getting the late models.
Was that a Chevelle that you bought from
Chevelle,
Ronnie?
yeah. Then I made a 65 out of it, and a 66 and a 67. Put the skins on, bought the stuff for it, so I had a late model every year.
Okay.
Bobby Schnars, he's quite a guy. He's quite a guy. And Carmeneski, I don't reckon him. Johnny Ditch, yeah, Johnny Ditch, we raced together. He got pissed off at me because I hit him up at Erie's one time, going around the curve. He was on the inside and I put him in the wall. And Chuck Piazza, yeah, he raced a Chevy for Berglund
Yep.
Chevrolet.
Yep.
And him and I were good friends. And Freddie Knapp, yeah, he's a nice guy. Freddie Knapp was a nice guy, I'll never forget him. Paul Wilson, don't remember him. Sammy Lamacuso, yeah, he's quite a guy. Yeah, I raced with all those guys.
You didn't say anything about this guy right here.
Yeah, well, I didn't much to say about him.
Why? Why is that?
Well,
What kind of a racer were you, Larry?
hard nose.
Were you?
Yeah, I had a tank, weighed 6,500 pounds,
No, it
Really?
didn't.
Yeah.
65.
6,500 pounds. Nobody dared to hit me.
What kind of an engine did you have to pull that?
427 with crawler roller cams in it. I could rev it up at 7,200 RPMs.
Wow.
We figured it had about, what did we figure horsepower on that? I forget now how many horsepower we figured it had, but
Here's some more guys on this side, Larry. If you take a look at those guys.
Johnny Whitehead from Clymer, yeah, the Flying Farmer. Floyd Thomas, I don't remember him too well. Squirt Johns, oh yeah, from Bachway. He was one of my favorite friends.
Was he?
In fact, his wife called my wife up, said when I got burnt, she called her up and condoled because they said that I got electrocuted and they thought they meant I died.
Oh,
she
God.
called her up and wished her condolences to her. And Tom Dill, of course, him and I went around and around. We're good friends, though. Tom Dill, Jim Scott. I went down to see him race in 1967 down at Daytona. Bruce Busink had him run, and I went down to watch him race. He said, "Man," he said, I never realized what it was like being in that speed." And Tom Dill, he shit his britches when he went to, well, yeah, he said he actually shit his britches when he was racing down there. One time he went down in Daytona. I didn't go down the time he raced. But Samuel Amakusa, of course. Floyd Finale, a great guy from Jamestown. Yeah, great guy. Him and I are real close friends. And of course Ron Blackmer, he raced against Skip Furlow. Him and Skip Furlow used to go round and round in the Sportsman. They had a Chevy with a straight 8 in it. And Ron Blackmer, number 4, would win one time and Skip Furlow would win the next. They dominated the Sportsman's class. Yeah.
Did you ever race that class, or were you always
not
late
Sportsman.
models?
I raced early models, then I went to the late models. I never raced in the Sportsman's class.
Let me ask you a question, Larry, because you had some successes, and we've asked this of all the drivers. If you got to a point where you're on the last lap and there's one guy with you, who's the driver of these guys that you would least likely to want to have with you one-on-one as you're going around the last lap of the race?
Well, there's some great drivers there. I'll tell you that right now, but I think Bobby Snars was one of the toughest.
Yep.
Bobby Snars and Johnny Whitehead and Squirt Johns, they're all tough. They won different times, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, the answer we got from most everybody, though, was Tom Dill. Because they would assume that he would do anything humanly possible to move you out of the way.
Yeah, but he didn't have the car to go with him sometimes. He got that Dodge from up there in Erie, and he'd come down there one time with right out of the showroom practically with that Dodge, and he didn't have the equipment these other guys had.
Right. That's true. Well, you had you talked about a tank, a 6,500-pound car. Holy
reinforced, all reinforced frames and everything.
I mean, this is the opposite of the Ronnie Blackmer,
oh yeah,
Heil Russells, and those early guys who would really strip the cars.
Yeah.
What was your theory?
Well, I had a mechanic, Dick Gibbs, and he didn't want things breaking down, so we fish plated the whole frame. I went up to Dia Springs and I got a spring for the wheel wells, so they couldn't the rear wheel wells, they couldn't be pushed in. It was a long spring. It was shaped the same shape as the wheel wells, and the trunk had a steel plate in it, and it couldn't. Like Marty Rader one time, he spun out in front of me and I hit him, took the whole front end of his car off. He come up and said to me, he said, "That's a pregnant elephant." He was mad. In fact, he wanted to fight. I said, "You want to fight? Not here. Let's go up in the woods." He wouldn't go.
Yeah.
Dick Litz one time up there. Remember Dick Litz?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Dick Litz come up to me one time. I was racing the thing in him and I were going round and round on the curve, stuff like that, and I guess I kind of shoved him out on the curve because I slid into him or something. Anyhow, he went to the pit entrance and blocked the pit entrance, so I couldn't come in because I took the flag, the victory flag, not the victory flag. He parked at the the entrance to the pit. So I just eased up against him and just pushed him right around with that car of mine. And then he come down to the pits there and ready to fight. And he started swinging at me. Oh yeah, he started swinging at me. I grabbed a headlock on him and took him down to the ground. And I said, I'll let you up, but I don't want any more fighting. I didn't want to hurt him. I could have busted his mouth. Fred Peters one time, I busted teeth out of his mouth, and I always regretted it. Because up at Cool Road. You probably don't remember him because
I do know him. He was car number 190.
That's why he has the gold teeth now.
Oh.
Yeah, and Dick Blitz, I let him up. He come back at me again, and that time, I got him down on another headlock. I'm great on a headlock. Always was good. And his brother was there, and he said, "Kick him in the nuts, kick him in the nuts." I said, Dick, I'm going to let you up one more time, but I promise you, the next time I'm going to bust you up bad. So I let him up, and he left. And that was the end. Him and I were friends ever since.
Yeah, yeah. Well, good. It's interesting. Did you think it helped, aside from its durability, did it help you with speed? Did it, having such a big car?
No, straightaways I got good speed, but on the curves it hindered me because I'd slide so heavy, slide up there. Right. But on straightaway, I could get, especially if it wasn't too wet. Right. But it started when it dried out, I could do pretty well.
What was your car number?
8.
8?
Emery Manns was 8 ball, and I was number 8.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Why number 8?
Well, I don't know. I just picked it up. I liked that number.
Who was the main competition during that time period? Who were the guys to beat?
All those guys.
Yeah.
All those guys.
Was, just trying to think, Bobby was in the top of his game at that point, and
yeah.
Squirt.
Yeah.
Were there drivers who had ownership teams? We just talked to Joe Mobilia, who would bring up a number of cars, 2, 3, 4 cars in a night. Were there other people who would bring up a number of cars?
Well, I don't know if there's a number of cars or not. A lot of Bergman Chevrolet sponsored, what's his name?
Freddie Knapp?
Freddie Knapp. And a lot of them had some help. I had Kramer Motors to give me stuff at cost.
Okay.
They sponsored me, but this stuff at cost. They didn't give me any money. Jim Burnett down at 76 gave me all the gas.
Right.
I had his number on 76 filling station down here at State Line.
Right.
And he furnished the gas for me for doing that. But that's about all I got for me.
Look at that picture right here, Larry. Is that you?
Yeah.
That looks like a Chevelle there. Is that right?
Yeah. That's a show. That's all I ever had.
Okay.
Besides the Ford I had in early models.
Right.
Yeah.
So that, and it was the frame you bought from Blackmer, and then you just put new tin on it all the time.
Yeah, that for 1965 I put new tin, but in 66 I built the thing, made a tank out of it.
Okay.
My mechanic wanted to do it. I didn't want to do it, but I had a good mechanic, Dick Gibbs, and he built that motor. I'm telling you, we had it balanced, crawler roller cams in it, and everything. At 427 I bought it, and I even bought a spare engine, and we did the same thing to it.
Wow. You were really into it then, weren't you?
I got a rear end. We pulled the axle. I sent down the U.S. axle. I was twisting axles. I sent down a U.S. axle and had special axles made. So you push them in to the thing.
Yeah.
Push them into the rear end.
Yeah.
And I never busted it. I twisted just a little bit on the grooves, but never busted them. With that heavy tank, it had to have a good axle. Yeah. So we paid good money for that extra, but it paid off. Had a Franklin rear end.
Yeah, sure. Quick change.
Yeah. No, it wasn't a quick change.
It wasn't a
No.
Franklin quick change?
No. Just a regular rear end. I didn't change gears.
Okay.
So Larry, you close your eyes and you think, Greg, the funniest thing or the most amusing thing that I saw at State Line Speedway when I was up there was this. Do you remember an incident or two which sort of was unusual?
Yeah, one time I was in a semi race with Squirt Johns and let's see, Flying Farmer, what's his name? Johnny Whitehead,
Right.
and those guys. And I was going around the track, and it was wet, very wet, and I was in first place, and they tried to pass me, but as I got up the straightaway, I was fishtailing. They didn't dare to go around me. Finally, Squirt John tried to go around me, and I fishtailed him in. He went into the infield and sat there. So I won the race.
Well, I suppose you had such a big, heavy car.
Yeah.
They gave you a lot of leeway.
They did. They had to.
Yeah.
I was impregnable. Yeah.
Pregnant elephant.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a great
That's
story.
perfect, Larry.
What other stories or incidents you might think of that were kind of humorous?
Well, one time at State Line, my front suspension tie rod end broke, and it put me right in the wall and up the fence. I hung up there on the fence with my Chevelle
Really?
up there.
Like a fly in a spider's web.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah.
How the hell did they get you down? Did you stay in the car? I mean, while
I got out of the car.
Okay.
It didn't go up that high. I mean,
Okay.
it went up probably 5 feet,
Okay.
something like that.
But you had to jump out of the car and down
Yeah.
the ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
They stopped the race, of course.
Yeah. Were there times when you got hurt or were concerned about something in the health of the drivers? One of those accidents where you'd say,
I'll tell you, the one accident I was really concerned about one time was when I had the Wattsburg Speedway and I had the women driving Powder Puff.
all right,
My sister was driving a Ford, and this had nothing to do with bus side, but I'm
No,
telling you,
sure,
that's
sure.
something I was really scared about.
right,
Was a lady hit her who was driving. She just was driving very recklessly. She rolled her over right on the roof, and they didn't have no qualified gas tanks and just plain gas tank. And I was so scared that gas would leak down there and explode with my sister and then my sister Karen. She later passed on here 3 years ago.
right.
But anyhow, that was the scariest I ever was at a race. I don't usually get scared about nothing.
When you had Wattsburg, Larry, you had tried to form a drivers' association back at State Line in Erie. How was your relationship with the drivers now that you're the boss?
Big, real good. I'm telling you, I started out with the biggest purse in history up there, and we didn't get the people right away, kind of because the track was in bad shape, and I think the purse was, I can't remember how thousand it was, but anyhow, I was going in the hole. I borrowed money. I borrowed $15,000 from the bank down from Ernley Lake. And I went down and explained to them. I said, I can't afford to pay that. And they took the cut and never said a word.
Really?
They agreed to it, and that put me about even. You know what I mean? I never made any money on a track, but I didn't lose any.
Okay. So you always had good support from the drivers.
Good support from the drivers. They liked me.
Good.
Now, like when they were driving on that track, that clay was put in there. There's a lot of stones in it and rocks. It was the wheels would throw rocks at the guy. Squirt John had his window knocked out with a stone. I took money out of I carried a billfold, a chain drive billfold. I carried thousands of dollars in it, and I just took it out and paid for it, and everybody had trouble, I paid them. When I went to the hospital, when I got electrocuted there, I had my wallet and it was hooked to a chain. Like I said, I fell down 35 feet, and they didn't expect me to live. I blew it up like a balloon from that blister right away. Jack Gerard up there was one of my guys that helped me in the stands, in the announcing stand. He belonged to the fire department. He said he couldn't take it. He got out of the ambulance up there at Wattsburg. He couldn't take it because he's just a good friend of mine.
Wow.
And anyhow, they took the wallet and gave it to the administration up at Hammond Hospital. My brother, Enoch, he's since died.
Okay.
He died back in '82. He was only 48 years old. He had a disease from Hans-Schuller-Christian disease, a skull bone, and he died. But he was a good man, and he went there and got my wallet. He knew I had a lot of money. How much I had in there? $5,000. I could have lost it very easily, but I didn't.
Yeah. Gee whiz. Well, your roofing business was very successful,
Oh
then,
yeah,
wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I kept my racing up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I bought the place next door from my grandfather, and he died. Then I took that over, and then I built that other house over there, modular home. I put that in there, and then I sold that to my niece.
Oh.
And now I don't own those homes.
Oh, okay.
But in this place on the corner, I sold that to Jim Harris, and he put a house in there. And so I only got this about 3/4 of an acre now because I sold the back end to my son that lives with me.
Okay.
He bought the land. He might build a house there someday.
Okay.
So that's the way it is. He'd been with me 10 years. And my other son that in Hickory, North Carolina, was with me 5 years before that when his wife left him. And he lived in the big room, and Mark come in when he got divorced from his wife. He lived downstairs in the bedroom.
Oh,
and when
dear.
Wayne moved out and got married
Yeah.
to a girl, he moved up here in the big room. So I've had my sons with me for 15 years.
Yeah. How about that?
Yeah.
So you started racing over to Erie. I mean, at State Line in around '64, maybe '65.
65, I think.
65.
Yeah.
A couple of guys.
I think it was 64. I'm not sure now.
Well, you said you bought a Chevelle from Ronnie.
Yeah, I think it was a 64 Chevelle
So you
that I
probably
bought.
would have raced in '65.
I think I raced in 65. I thought it was 64, and I bought at the end of the season. I'm pretty sure I raced it in 65 with not too much change.
That's the way I remember
Yeah.
it, that you raced in '65.
Yeah.
There were two other guys that also broke into racing the same year you did.
Oh, yeah?
It's '65. One of them was named Kenny Shear.
Oh, yeah.
You remember
Yeah.
Kenny?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
What do you know about him?
I don't remember.
Okay.
remember.
How about Dave Turner?
Yeah, I knew Dave Turner, but I can't tell you much about
Okay,
him. I
okay.
remember him racing.
Yeah, those two guys broke in the same year
Yeah,
you did.
okay. They were from Jamestown, weren't they? Dave was.
Dave was from Pittsfield. He was friends with Jim Scott.
Jim Scott lived in Pittsburgh.
And then
Pittsfield, yeah.
Kenny Shear was from the Jamestown area. Yeah.
Floyd Finale was too.
Yes.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Boy, I wonder if he's still living.
Oh, sure he is.
Oh.
A month ago was Sammy Lamancuso's 80th birthday
Okay.
party.
I'm 77.
Well, at that party, Floyd was there, Jim Polaro, Tom Dill, Jim Scott, Ron Blackmer.
Oh, for crying out loud.
All those guys are still around, Larry.
Yeah. We got together one time, went over to Peak and Peak, I think, back a few years after I was out, and we got together with all the drivers. Had a thing. We somebody got it going. I don't know who
Okay.
it was, but we had that.
Cool. Do you keep in touch with anybody now, Larry, as far as State Line? Do you
No.
see anybody?
No.
Well, I'll tell you, September 26th this year, you'll get an invitation, and all of these guys are coming back. We're going to do the documentary, which we're working on, and on the history of State Line the first 10 years, and from Squirt to Bobby to to Floyd. They're all going to be back.
Okay.
So we want to make sure.
I'll be
Larry
willing to
Palmer
come.
yeah.
I'll be there.
Yeah, it would be fun. One big last reunion. You know.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be.
I'm surprised these guys are still living. Oh, daredevils they are.
Yeah.
That's a true statement.
Yeah.
No, but jeez.
Did you ever think of yourself as a daredevil? I mean, when you're out there racing, was
Oh
it,
yeah, I used to do things like I'd stand up, my cousin Harry would come up and watch me on the roof. I'd do a handstand on the chimney. Stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah, I used to do things like that. And a big barn down there on the middle road had a steep roof with 8 sides on it, octagon. It's a brick barn with 8 sides on it. And a guy by the name of Ray Mead used to come by. He said it scared him to death seeing us running around up there. My brother helped me run around on that roof with no scaffolding or nothing.
wow. Man.
Who told us, Greg, that Larry roofed their house and taught him how to walk on the roof?
Yeah, I was trying to think, because I remember the story.
Who was that guy?
I want to think Kenny C, but,
I can't remember that.
well, it was some racer.
Okay.
Some racer. You
mentioned
did the
it.
roof, and you taught him how to walk on a roof.
Okay.
Yep. And then, yeah, there was some accident, and whatever happened. Did you ever fall off one of these drivers' roofs? You remember that?
I fell off a roof one time head first.
Oh, gosh.
I was taking some sticks up there with double-headed nails in it to nail a felt down with on a roof we stripped off down in Northeast on Eagle Street.
Right.
And I started up off from the porch up on the roof. It was about that high. I got up there and somehow I slipped and went head first hit the porch roof. I had these things in my hand. All I could think about was all those nails sticking out. And I went down I landed in the dirt. Luckily I didn't land on cement. It threw me out far enough I missed the sidewalk. And it bunged up my face pretty well. I had to go to the dentist and get some medicine because my lip was in pain and all swelled up. But I come out of it pretty good. Another time I was roofing on a roof down on Middle Road for a guy by the name of Allen. And he had leaks in the corrugated steel roof, and he couldn't find where the leaks were. And what it was, they drove the nails down on the corrugations, and they didn't drive them straight, and the water would go in there where the nails would go in there. So I went up there with aluminum fibrated asphalt and was painting those things that are shut so they wouldn't leak.
Right.
And it was a real sunny day and overcast a little bit, and the sun was out and it would go behind the sun. And I had a ladder up there. It was about 36-foot ladder I had up there, and I had a thing jigged up to hold my bucket. Had a little leg on it, so it was the same angle as the roof.
Right.
And I was painting it, and all at once I kept turning the ladder in case something happened.
Right.
Every time I would go, I'd turn the ladder and get it so it's below me. I always had ladder below me. All at once, right out of a clear sky, the rain come, and I didn't have time enough to get to the ladder. I just turned around. When that happened, I turned around and I slid down towards that ladder, and the next thing I know, I was pinned against the roof. I grabbed that ladder, the railing, with my arm, and it went out just far enough to turn it around completely and pin me against the roof.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't done that, I would have gone about 50 foot, and I'd have hit my truck that was parked down there. But I got right back on and went up on the roof. It quit raining. I went back on the roof.
What a guy. You raced at Erie's, you raced at State Line. Was there one track that you felt better to drive at than the other?
Yeah, I liked Erie best.
Like Erie?
Yeah.
But why was that?
Well, it was a little longer,
Right.
and that's about all I can say about that.
Now, we're back to the Bay Area Drivers Association, which I find that all fascinating, that there was you basically organized the group of drivers. Did you guys meet separately?
Yeah, we met up to the, what's now is they sold it now, Waterfall
Okay.
restaurant there.
Yep.
in the rear. And we had our meetings there. And then
Did Lloyd and Len know you were meeting?
I imagine they found out about it. They were pissed off at me. They wouldn't let me race in 1968. I went up there to race up at Erie's. They wouldn't let me in the pits.
Because of that.
Because of that, yeah. So I had to race at my own track. I raced up there for 68, and then I didn't race in 69. I raced in 68. I sold the car to my cousin Tom.
Yeah, yeah. So when did you first start this association? Was it in 64, 65?
About 64.
64. So
Yeah.
it was in existence for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
And
about three, 4 years.
and did the membership consist of late model drivers as well?
No,
Just
no. Well, we had late models later. I called the Bay Area, but they weren't in on the original making up of it. But I called it that yet, called it together when I called a late model driver down to Oddfellows Hall down there. More or less, I did it as a group of guys. Well, I wouldn't say it's so much the Bay City Racing Association at that time, because that was when it had early models, you know what I mean? But I had experience with handling people, so they all come down. All the late model drivers come there. Squirt, Johns, everybody. They all come down there, but they couldn't agree on putting money into the track, and so I didn't bug them anymore. I had that one meeting with them, and then I went ahead and I tried to get Harry Lechner, Lou Lechner's Liberty Iron and Metal. I tried to get them to come in with me because they had money, and they sponsored a car, stock car, up there. And we went down to Smith's Restaurant in Wattsburg, and we were eating, having a business meeting, and somebody dropped a dime or something on the floor. I said, uh-oh. I said, watch out, the kite will get it. And that pissed them off. They're the Jews, the Jewish.
yeah.
So they never did any. They wouldn't back me in the track.
Yep.
Right.
So I'm just as well satisfied they didn't.
Yep.
I run the thing myself. I was the president, and I made up membership cards for everybody. Give all the state police membership for Corey and Lawrence Park, so they'd come to the races and leave our drivers alone.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? They never bothered our drivers.
Did you think because you had this association and even the late model guys were at least willing to meet with you, did that have an impact on the track? Did that change the purses or the terms of how State Line and Erie ran? Do you think you had an impact?
I think it did to a certain extent, because I run on Friday night and they run on Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
But Leonard Briggs and Jerry and Leonard Briggs, I talked to them till I was blue in the face, but they were set in their ways.
Right.
They're set in their ways. Say Lloyd Williams too.
Right.
He ran that Frubanner Esso at the time, and I went over there to talk to him one time when he was there, and they got pretty pissed off at me. They didn't want nothing to do. They wouldn't let me race.
Did just you, or was there other racers too that they?
No, just me.
And at the time, were you racing both late model and just?
No, just late model. Yeah.
What things were you asking for at the time, Larry? What did you want to talk to Len and Jerry about?
Oh, about purses mostly. About purses. They weren't paying enough for the purses. We were putting a great show on up there at Erie's, and they wouldn't pay nothing, and they had big crowds. They were making money, hand over fist, and I knew it. And they gave some, but I raced late models up. They let me come and race late models there, after that, but they did make better concessions for the early model drivers. I never bothered them much about their late models.
Just their sportsman guys.
No, the early model, not sportsmen. Early model.
What they call the hooligans? Is that what you mean?
Not hooligans exactly. Well, they're kind of hooligan, but the early models they were pretty good cars. They had Stroker McGurk up there. He had a built-up engine.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And we had some good cars. I almost won a race against Stroker McGurk up there, 100 lapper. And I had that 48 Ford. I was leading the race. And I let up a little bit. I let up on it, had it in second gear. And with a floor speed, had a transmission on the floor. And I carelessly didn't keep driving hard enough, and he passed me on the last lap. Passed me on the last lap. I'll never forget that. I was always disgusted. Another time up at Cool Road, I was leading a race, and flagman Chuck Weary, Nate Weary.
Yeah.
He's a flagman up at Busti. And I was trying to be smart and go over towards him, and when I went towards him a little, because he's waving the flag, standing on top of the railing, and a tie fell off there, and I hit that with that. I had a big tire on the right side, and hit that and blowed that tire. And I was leading. It was a long race too, and the guy beat me by one car.
Oh gosh.
Because I got smart. I was monkeying around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's my own fault.
What's the highlight? What's the Larry Parmenter highlight of racing? What's the big race or the big moment?
I don't know. I didn't really have any big moments that I can think of.
Yeah.
I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed the guys, the camaraderie, stuff like that.
Yep.
After you got hurt at your own racetrack, did you ever race again?
No.
That
was
killed
it.
everything for you.
It killed everything for me. Got rid of the track, got rid of everything.
Okay.
I just barely could make it working for about until 1977, and pushing myself. My nerves went to pieces, and I retired in 1977 from the roofing business.
What'd you do then?
I went down to 76, or down to Boyd's. Boyd's, the restaurant down there, the truck stop.
Oh yeah.
Boyd's.
Yeah.
Larry Boyd's.
Yeah.
Went down there and was a clerk, worked nights on fuel desk, and worked there, and then I went from there over to 76 for Jim Burnett. I worked for him before. I worked for him from 1958 to 1962 till I bought this house here and moved in here and went to work on my own.
Okay.
I was the Fruit Farms Incorporated at the time, and I went to work there at 76.
Okay.
Perfect. This has been great, Larry. On very short notice, we give you a call, you open up your house, and you let us two yahoos come in.
Oh yeah, I'm glad to.
Yeah, you're great. I really appreciate.
We learned a lot today. We didn't know about the Bay City Racing Association.
Yeah.
All we ever knew.
It wasn't a legal thing. Don't get me wrong.
I know that.
But obviously, you had the interest of the drivers.
Yeah, we had the interest of the drivers. All the drivers were there. Oh, and what's his name? Pat Capobianco come down there. At that time, he was just a young guy. He's a councilman now.
Oh.
And he come down and wanted to have a winter race.
Winter race.
A winter race in January, up there at the Speedway. So they got us together, called a winter races, and got people to come up there, and we towed our cars up. All of us went there, and because he wanted us to do that, and they got bulldozers up there and took the snow off, and the ground froze because it was that cold.
Sure.
The ground froze, so we didn't need any water on it for dust because it was frozen. So they'd spray the mud up on your engine and stuff like that, and we had a good time there.
Well, that was an interesting thing, a winter race.
Yeah.
Wow.
Winter, the only one I ever was in.
Wow, it's probably the only one I ever had.
Yeah, about 1964, I would say.
Wow, that's something to look for.
Yeah.
Gee. Well, Larry, thank you. We really appreciate it, and thanks for taking up what is otherwise a good Sunday afternoon to watch football.
Well, I'm just watching the Jets and Colts. I don't give a shit who wins.
Well, neither do we. That's why we're doing this.
That's why we're
project.
doing this. We don't care either.
Well, anything? Is there a question we should ask you? Is there something, Larry, when you were thinking, knowing we were going to come down today, that you said, gee, I wonder if they're going to ask that question? Is there something we missed?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Well, you were gracious to open up your house, and we
Well,
appreciate it.
I'm more than glad to do it. I'm not very good at listening to the phone
Right.
on the thing. I can't hear it very good. I'm a little hard of hearing, and especially on that, it's garbled a little bit. And I wrote down the thing. I played it back and forth about 5 times. My son Mark come on and said, "What the hell are you doing?" I said, "I'm trying to get the phone number of Greg's phone number." I said, "I can't get it. I had all kinds of wrong things." He listened to it and wrote it down for me.
Good.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to call you because I wasn't anywhere near the right number.
Yeah. Well, I'm delighted we did. I'm delighted you did. I'm delighted Mark deciphered it, and
Yeah.
here we are. So, well, thank you. Thanks so
Okay.
much.
Okay.
We're going to turn this off here.